Brother, there is ultimately a very specific reason as to why you aren't able to stay consistent, why you aren't able to build the consistency that you need in order to achieve your goals. And now you're probably thinking, oh yeah, okay, I can't stay consistent, but I already know the solution to that. Well, let me tell you that you don't, right? Because the solution, the fix is not some fancy technique, right? You don't need to use the Pomodoro technique. And no, you don't have to start spamming cold showers, right? That's not going to change anything. And you don't have to implement the Eisenhower matrix either, right? It's actually not any of these things. In reality, what you truly need to do is master a very, very simple concept. You know, it's so simple, it's actually crazy how so many people aren't using this already. But what you want to do is master something called, you want to master boredom. What you want to master is boredom. Now, what exactly do I mean when I say that? How does one even master boredom, right? These are very good questions that you've asked and questions that will be answered, right? So in order to understand how one first masters boredom, you first need to realize, why do I need to master boredom in the first place? You need to understand that the reason you aren't able to stay consistent, the reason you can't carry out the work, the reason you can't do focus work, the reason that you can't stay on track at all is because the things that you're trying to do are boring, right? The things that actually bring you progress are this right here. They would fall in that category of you being bored, right? What am I talking about? Things like focused work, reading, exercise, getting, stuff that actually moves you forward, right? That stuff is boring. But it's only boring in comparison to how you spend the rest of your day doing things like scrolling, Netflix, games, junk food, right? All these things, right? All this mindless dopamine that you're essentially consuming. And that's the actual problem, is the fact that all of this scrolling, Netflix, gaming, junk food, right? This constant consumption, this constant stimulation, it's spiking your dopamine, right? Now let's put it on a graph, because you need to actually see this in order for it to click in your head, right? So we're gonna make a graph, right? We got a graph here where the x-axis, rather the y-axis, will be dopamine. I'll just put D, right? And this is the task. I don't know if I did that correctly, but it's gonna make sense, right? So understand that your baseline level of dopamine, it starts out where this green line is, which, let's say it's right here, right? And let's say that, the stuff that you need to do, the stuff that actually brings you fulfillment, the stuff that brings you progress towards your goals, we'll donate that in blue, right? The stuff that you need to do, focus work, reading, exercise, getting the work done, right? It's right there, right? And so if you notice that whenever you complete one of these tasks, your dopamine is going to spike up, right? It's going to come up here, because when you're at that base level of dopamine, then hard work actually seems pretty fun. But your problem is you're consuming a lot of mindless dopamine, a lot of instant gratification, which means you're getting a lot of dopamine without having to do much, a lot of dopamine very easily. Now you're spiking your dopamine up here, right? So gaming, right? Socials, SM, right? Junk food, we'll put JF. Scrolling, let's already there, we'll put Netflix, right? And what ends up happening is, because you're constantly doing these things up here, constantly wasting time, constantly consuming all this mindless dopamine, your baseline of dopamine, right? This base level of dopamine goes from down here, a level where it's normal, a level where you're able to do work, then it shoots all the way up here, right? Eventually you go all the way up here, and now, you consume so much dopamine that your baseline is now over this stuff right here, meaning that you now have to do more of it. Now you have to scroll more, you have to play more games, you have to watch more Netflix just to feel something, right? You essentially overstimulate your brain to the point where you can't do anything. You can't focus on anything, you can't accomplish anything, right? It'd be very difficult to even drop that level of dopamine back down here to where you're actually able to do some work, right? And that's the problem, is this constant level of stimulation, which is, rather than come up here, right? Because what is the reason that you're coming up here in the first place, right? Maybe you might feel stressed. You might get into a state where you're just doing nothing, right? And your brain is seeking to do something, right? You're in a state of boredom, but instead of using that boredom to your advantage, you waste it, right? Which is why you need to, again, master boredom, right? So next time you get that urge, right? Whether it be to scroll, you might find yourself sitting, not doing anything. Instead of instantly going to your phone, which I'll just write waste to kind of encapsulate everything, right? Because boredom is ultimately a superpower, but only when used correctly. But again, most people just end up wasting it, right? So rather than wasting your boredom, you're gonna master it. Now, what exactly does mastering boredom look like? Well, you need to control your urges. You need to control how you utilize it. So you need to sit in the boredom and then use that boredom to force yourself to do a productive task, right? So next time you get bored, next time you get stressed, do something that moves you forward, right? Because eventually, once you start staying bored long enough, just sitting in that boredom, you can stare at a wall, you can read a book, right? You can simply just sit and do nothing. Eventually, you're going to get to the point where you just are going to do some work. But in order to do that, we first need to create a wall between you and that distraction, because the problem right now is that when you get bored, that distraction's right next to you, whether it be your phone, you turn on your computer, down that YouTube rabbit hole, you go downstairs, the food is right there, right? The problem is that it's so easy to access that dopamine. It's so easy to access that instant gratification that you just naturally opt to do it, right? And rather than doing that, right, rather than, instantly going to that thing, we need to create a wall. We need a barrier. We need something to block or buffer you from carrying out that task, right? Let's put barrier. Right, you need a barrier. You need to limit it. You need to make it as difficult as possible in order to do that distraction. Right, you want your brain to think, whenever you have the urge to scroll your phone, like, oh, that's too much effort, so you don't do it. Oh, it's too much effort to get on Netflix. It's too much effort to waste time on YouTube, right? You want to make the effort of the distraction appear higher than the effort of getting the work done, because next time you get bored and that distraction effort is up here, I'll write this out, right? So, distraction effort, I'll just put D. Distraction, you want the effort to feel like 99 effort. Right, and you want the work to feel like 5 effort. Right? And now this is actually an entire another video topic on its own, and also something that I go in my coursing community. Click the first link in the description. I made it for people like myself who are suffering from distractions and wanted to ultimately free themselves so they could actually make progress. If that sounds like you, click the first link in the description. But in any case, right, since you want to make the distraction seem impossible and you want to make the work seem effortless, and I guess I'll give an example with phone's usually one of the easy ones to take care of. Okay, grayscale it, don't have it in your room when you're working, just have it across the house, right? Maybe put a lock on it, put all the apps that you're using, all the social media, put it in a folder, drag it to the back of your phone, right? There's a lot of options, there's a lot of different things that you can do to essentially make that distraction seem as difficult as possible. And once the distraction is hard, once it seems impossible, once it seems like so much effort, it's like, man, I don't even feel like doing that, then you're naturally going to opt to get that work done. You're naturally going to utilize that boredom to your advantage, right? Now, instead of wasting it, you end up mastering that boredom. And once you finally master boredom and are able to fully use it to your advantage, things like focused work, exercise, and reading are going to become effortless. The things that actually bring you progress, the things that bring you step closer to achieving your goals, they finally become so easy, so effortless, so frictionless that it would be harder for you not to achieve the things that you so desire. So Hopefully you found some value in this video. Hopefully you learned something new. And hopefully you fully realize that boredom is actually a superpower when you are able to use it correctly. So if you like videos like this and want to learn something new, definitely recommend clicking this video here. I might put it here or down there, wherever I decide to put this when I edit it. And if you're somebody like me who was completely unfocused, distracted, couldn't get anything done, and want the exact system that I used myself that was able to allow me to actually lock in on my goals, grow my YouTube channel, grow my Instagram, and make genuine progress towards your goals, click the first link in the description. Join the Focus OS, and I'll see you inside. Peace.